Jay, if you could just give a humble reminder in the group so that everyone joins, and just take a screenshot of it and send it in the
Sure,
group.
sure.
Thank
you. Yep.
If it's fine with you all, could I start, sir? Amitji, could I start?
Yeah, of course, please.
Okay, fine. So very good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to Entrepreneurship 101 Career Development and Entrepreneurship Workshop, which is jointly organized by Ganpat University and TiE Ahmedabad. First of all, I would actually like to welcome the august presence of Mr. Amitkhetan. Sir, he is founder of AfterFirst Media. Sir is an IIM Ahmedabad alumni with deep expertise in e-commerce in India for more than 20 years. Sir has significant experience in retail banking operations, corporate banking, information security, as well as project management. To talk about AfterFirst is a full stack web development, e-commerce, and digital marketing company which serves clients looking to promote their products and services online via visibility, social media marketing, as well as paid marketing. Thank you so much, Amit ji, for joining today in this workshop.
My pleasure, absolutely. And it's such a pleasure to be in this August company. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I definitely would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Ms. Piyali Chattopadhyay ji, Executive Director, TiE. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today as well. Without further ado, now I request Amit sir to take it further and enlighten all of us for today's workshop on 5 steps to create a powerful brand for your business. Over to you, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Remy. Thank you, everybody, for joining in today. And my promise before I begin this presentation is that I'll try and keep it interactive. And I'll not try and give boring gyan, but I'll try and relate it to real life. So that's my promise. And let's see how well I'm able to do on this score. So let me quickly share my screen. So officially welcome all. The presentation focuses on 5 steps to create a powerful brand for your business. All right. So I think one of the key messages here is that a product can be very quickly outdated, but a successful brand is timeless. So this is by none other than Stephen King, who's the most celebrated author and storyteller. And he's certainly built a brand for himself. So whatever he writes, I mean, people simply just buy it without looking at the blurb. So that's the power of the brand. I'd like to start by talking about the traditional process of brand building versus the unconventional. Guys, are you able to see my screen? Please give me a quick comment in the comments box. Fantastic. All right, so here is the traditional process of brand building. Before we go for the unconventional, I'd like to stress that this is extremely important. You cannot really neglect this. And therefore, I'd like to spend a little bit of time on this. And then we will move on to what's new in the current day and age. So obviously, you begin with a strategy that what kind of company do you want to build? For example, let's take the example of an ice cream brand. So would you like to make a niche brand? Would you like to be dominant, or would you like to be blue ocean? So, niche and dominant is understandable. Blue ocean is a situation wherein your company creates such a positioning that the competition becomes irrelevant. So that's also one of the approaches to forming a company. So coming on to the example of the ice cream brand, let's say you want to go up against Have More and Amul. So that's a very daunting and scary thought, right? But what if, as an example, I don't see many people focusing on vegan ice cream, let's say. So if you decide that I want to start a vegan ice cream brand, certainly, I mean, you can do a great job and you can actually create a position for yourself. So that's an example of a niche brand creation strategy. If you want to be a dominant brand, then you have to have a huge war chest and you have to actually create a lot of cash burn. So, that is the other aspect of creating that. And blue ocean is wherein you create an entirely new category or a subcategory within that category. And certainly you need to decide that do you want to create a cash flow situation or do you want to be cash flow positive depending on your resources. So that's a strategy part of it. Then you obviously look at the competitors once you're clear on the strategy, that what are the gaps in the market, like I mentioned about the vegan ice cream example, and what are your key differentiators and what is your positioning going to be. So you need to be very clear on this aspect. Then you look at your target audience. For example, for if I'm talking about home loans and I want to target NRIs, so I need to actually figure out that what is the size of the NRI market. Within NRIs, would I want to focus on non-resident Gujaratis or any kind of sub niche? Then most important is that once your target audience is understood, you need to understand what are their interests and where do they congregate. For example, are they meeting offline somewhere regularly or are they actually hanging out somewhere online? For example, NRIs, there are a lot of portals wherein they talk about parenting or issues or moving back to India. So you need to be very clear on where they congregate. After that, we need to figure out the brand positioning and brand voice. So what are your core values? That are you going to be a value brand? Are you going to be a premium or a luxury brand? Are you intending to create a certain promise and then fulfill it? So these are the kind of things that you need to decide. And when I say brand voice, I mean a brand, every brand has a personality. Are you quirky? Are you serious? Are you fun? Are you irreverent? For example, if you talk about Tesla, then Tesla's identity is tied in a lot to Elon Musk's personality. So, your brand personality needs to be decided upfront. Then we come on to stuff like name, logo, tagline, and website. And the irony is that a lot of branding and brand development focuses on this part, but this is just one part of the exercise. People start with logos and they start with a letterhead and the website, but that's just a very small part and it is derived from what we have done above. After that, we decide what are the messaging channels we want to focus on. TV, radio, print media, OOH is out of home, direct mail, and of course, digital platforms have become prominent even in the traditional scheme of things. And then you track and adjust. So before I move forward, are there any questions on the traditional process of brand building so that I can move forward to the main part of my presentation? Any quick Q&As on this, please? All right. I can see some. All right. Great. So I'm moving on to the next part. Okay, so the next part of my presentation talks about 5 unconventional steps for building a powerful brand. And apologies to all the traditionalists out there, but I think this is very important once you are done with the traditional process. This is an extremely key phrase. And in fact, I have a printout of this in front of where I sit. So your brand is a story unfolding across all customer touch points, and emphasis on the word story. And this is by Jonas Sachs, who's a very famous storyteller, designer, and an entrepreneur. So you need to remember this word story. Okay, this is very important. First of all, has anybody heard the word buyer persona? Could you please give me a yes or no in chat? Or a customer avatar? Fantastic, great. So please don't worry. I'll be sharing this deck, so you don't need to note anything down. I would just like your focus. And if there are any questions, please let me know in chat. Let me in fact pull up the chat window on the side. All right. So the most important and key message is that if you're trying to sell to everyone, you're not selling effectively to anyone. So that is the most important thing to understand. I mean, if you're starting an ice cream brand today, you will say, sir, but I mean, everybody loves ice cream. Sure. And you can market to everybody if you're a Amul or a Have More. But I mean, if you're starting a small brand with little resources, then it's not really a good idea to try and focus on everybody. So perhaps a vegan approach might work, as I just shared earlier. So what you need to begin is you need to create a profile of an ideal buyer, and this is called a persona or an avatar. And I'll share links with tools on how you can do it online. So let's say if I'm thinking about my customer, so I'll give him or her a name. Let's say Sejal Jain. I will put up a photograph, any kind of random photograph of any random person, because this is for my internal use. I will create an actual demographic. I'll think hard on what is the possible age of Sejal Jain. What is she married? What is her education level? What are her goals, values, and aspirations? I mean, is she a mom of two and she is stressed with time? And what are the things? Is she worried about their health? So these are the challenges that Sejal has to overcome. Then I think about congregation points. Where does Sejal hang out? I mean, online, offline. What does she do? What are the groups she belongs to? And secondly, if you're talking about business marketing, then what are the tools Sejal does? Uses to do her job. I mean, does she use Facebook? Does she use LinkedIn? Is she using Google? Is she using Sales Navigator, which is a part of LinkedIn? One thing that's not mentioned here is that also what are the sources from which Sejal gets information to make decisions about her business or brand buying behavior? Is she using magazines? Is she using online blogs? What about her friends who are referring to her? So now you may, now after talking about all this, logically you might ask, but sir, I'm not going to market to Sejal who's 40. I mean, what is the point of creating such a thing? The point here is to get you thinking. When we start marketing, we say, okay, I'll target a female in the age of 30 and 40, and we don't really think beyond that. So once we start actually putting up a face to that kind of profile, then you start thinking harder and you start uncovering layers. And the more your customer matches this layer, the more your marketing messaging will be on point. It doesn't mean that you won't sell to a 35 or a 45-year-old, but this is where your heart of the marketing is going to be. And therefore, we must focus on it. Now, where are we going to find this information? All this is fine, goals, values, aspirations, right? If you already have a business, it's a great idea to actually talk about to them or to profile them. So if you already have a business here, you can actually, and a lot of companies don't do this till they start getting buyer personas. If you don't have certain information, obviously you can't ask, right, for many of the things. So you have to make assumptions. Now, assumptions can be right or wrong, but at least you're doing a thinking exercise. You're trying to go deep inside the mind of a buyer, right? So this is a very different approach from the, and why is this important today? I mean, think back to 5 years, 10 years back. All your brand building options were limited to, let's say, a newspaper advertisement or a TV advertisement or a radio advertisement. So what could you really choose? You could choose a geography, or you could choose a demographic. You will put an ad in a magazine favored by a certain kind of person. But that's about it, right? But in digital marketing age, you can go very deep and you can actually target in a niche manner. Therefore, the entire concept of buyer persona and customer avatar has come in the last 3-4 years. And if we try and do a mass marketing, digital marketing, it will be an absolute failure. One very key point I want to make here is that there's not one persona. You can create multiple personas depending on your audience or your product. But it doesn't mean you create 10 or 15. I mean, 4 or 5 is ideal at the very maximum. All right. Marut Solanki is saying, sir, which platform, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., we should use to market our product in beginning? So, Marut, if you could just put this question in the parking lot, I will address it sometime down the line, and then we will actually move on to Q&A. But this is a great question, actually, and certainly you preempted my presentation. Thank you for that. So, again, the message is that please do not start any brand building exercise or any kind of marketing before you do this, actually. And the tools I will share later. I don't want to get into tools right now, but this is just a thought. Does this make sense? I mean, does it resonate with you that this is an important exercise to do? Thank you. Moving forward. All right. So if you look at the traditional marketing texts, they will talk about selling benefits instead of selling products or services. So don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. Don't sell drills, sell the whole. Right. I'd like to go one step further and actually uh, posit that we have to sell emotions instead of products, services, or even benefits. So, what is emotional selling and emotional brand building? So, you have to form a relationship between your brand and your customers by actually provoking their emotions and touching their heart. How do you do that? So, that's where the buyer persona comes in that we talked about earlier, that you have to appeal to their aspirations, needs, and pain points. So, let's talk about a couple of mini case studies to keep it interesting. So, Apple. I mean, if you think about Apple, it is not Apple's phones don't talk about GBs. They don't talk about the capacity of the batteries. They don't even disclose what kind of RAM they're using. So Apple, what it does is it actually appeals to the feeling of holding an Apple product in a hand. That is the most important thing that you consider subconsciously when you're looking at an Apple phone, that it makes you feel special. That other than this, what Apple does is it cuts complexity. You would have seen that, for example, my child is 2.5 years old. When he was two, I mean, he got hold of my iPad and he was able to understand and use it very effectively. So Apple products are designed in such a manner that anybody can just pick it up and start using it, and there's no complexity to it. Then the third most important thing is that there's a feeling of belonging. So you'll be surprised that Apple, there are a lot of groups in India, Apple owners of India. So it makes you feel belonging to that particular segment. And if you go to an Apple store, there is no pressure to buy. There'll be somebody friendly. You can look at the products in your own pace, and they will not try and figure out that what is your budget and what kind of thing would you want to buy. So that is where they're touching your emotions. They're making you feel secure. They're making you feel valued. And that's why you buy Apple products. So I hope this resonates with you, with our thinking about Apple. The other point I want to talk about is Nike. So very famous, just do it. So I mean, Nike could have just sold shoes that our shoes are such and such, their fit is so good, they don't wear out for such a long time. But they focus on a simple messaging that improve your life by taking quick actions. And when they launched this campaign, just do it. People wrote to the Nike CEO and they said, I quit a bad job, or I made a lot of changes in my life, or I was in an abusive situation and I moved out of the situation. And I also can lose weight, by just taking action. So Nike is messaging focused on the emotion of just doing it, and therefore it is so prominent that even today people get tattoos, that just do it. So that's the real kind of appeal to emotions. Now, you may come and say, hey, Amit, Apple and Nike are fine, but they are large MNCs, right? How does it relate to me? I'm just starting out. I want to start a business. So I want to talk about this interesting brand called Sugar Cosmetics. I want a quick update in the chat. How many people have actually heard of Sugar Cosmetics? Please give me a yes or no. So we'll actually take a pause. Have you guys ever heard of Sugar Cosmetics? Brilliant. So I can see some yeses here. Fantastic. And it's very, very interesting that the kind of yeses I'm getting are exactly from their target audience. So, I mean, I need to pass a word to Kaushik and Vinita. So, Sugar Cosmetics is started by two Ahmedabad grads. They are from the same batch and they married. So, Kaushik Mukherjee and Vinita Singh. So, I mean, I know them for a longest of time. And what these guys did is they started something, they failed. Then they started another venture and they failed. And the irony is that they got 1 crore offer right out of campus, and they quit that and they started something by quitting a 1 crore job right out of campus. So imagine the pressure on these people. And after a while of running businesses, they were almost going to run out of money. Then they joined a job again. But the entrepreneurial itch was such that they again ventured into entrepreneurship. And this time they started something called Sugar Cosmetics. So they figured out that, so again, just try and relate this to what the example I gave earlier. So they figured out that there are two kinds of cosmetics in India. One is the mass market and one is the ultra premium. But there's no mid-level brand. That what if you wanted the premium kind of feature for a mid-level price? That didn't exist. So they studied all the packaging, they studied all the products, and they launched something called Sugar Cosmetics. Now, when the pandemic struck, everybody told them that, look, people are wearing masks. Who's going to use lipstick, right? You are dead. And the pandemic was a year when they grew from 54 crores to 104 crores of sales. And they did it all in three and a half years. Extremely profitable, digital first brand. And I know how close they were to failure at one point of time because I know the promoters extremely well. So if they can do it, definitely anybody can do it. Even a college student can do it, right? It is all about execution and a clarity of strategy. So Sugar Cosmetics, I mean, and I don't want to dwell too much on it. Please go and study their messaging. What they've done is that they have created, Kaushik and Vinita are the kind of people, they ran a triathlon, right? When Vinita was pregnant, she was up on stage with a huge pregnant belly bump and she gave a TEDx talk in that situation. And they've never let adversity stop them. So that really becomes the identity of the brand as well. So they've become so iconic in whatever they do that the brand gets a halo. These are go-getters and this brand is for go-getters. So that's my interpretation of this brand. Now you might say, emotional brand building, fine. You're all talking about consumer products, right? iPhones or Nike shoes or Sugar Cosmetics. What if I have a B2B existing business? Definitely emotional brand building can work here as well. Because emotions doesn't mean tears or, it doesn't mean frustration. Emotions can be very subtle. Trust and reliability. If you are selling, let's say, drills, right? You will say, what emotions will I build in a drill, right? Well, you can understand that your buyer of a drill may have trust issues or reliability, that will you deliver on time. If you're able to project this kind of an emotion that we are trustable and we stand for what we mean, that also is emotional brand building. The other important thing could be just a simple feeling that you understand, right? If you're dealing with somebody and the other person understands you, you feel so empowered that, you know what, this brand actually gets me. And that's where you form a connect, which goes beyond any kind of logical appeal. Third interesting thing could be origin story of promoter or a founder. So I don't need to get into this, right? Apple is built on what Steve Jobs is, or Elon Musk drives, Tesla. Or if you talk about Sir Richard Branson, I mean, he drove the entire Virgin. And Indian example, for example, Sir Ratan Tata, I mean, everybody trusts Sir Ratan Tata, and therefore, whatever he does, whatever product Tata creates, there's the instant trust, right? This kind of trust cannot be bought by any kind of advertising. And it is possible, as I gave example of Kaushik and Vinita, it is very much possible to do this even if you're an upstart or a startup. So guys, does this make sense to you? Does this resonate with you? And what I want to say is that please go and actually look at Sugar Cosmetics, look at the Instagram, and you will get an idea that how fast it is possible to scale up. Now, moving on to the next slide, which is tied a lot with the previous one, is the art of storytelling. So I'm 100% sure that whoever's attending this call, many people would have heard that we have to now market in a storytelling format. So, okay, before I address this entire thing, when I say the word Ghar Ka Khana ad, what brand are you able to recall? And please, guys, I want some interactivity on chat. Ghar Ka Khana ad, who recalls which brand it pertains to? I'll give you a hint. It talks about a certain dadi. Pratmesh, it's not nor anybody else. Ghar Ka Khana. The tagline is Ghar Ka khana hi hota hai. And there's a dadi involved. All right, no worries. Basically, this is a brand called Fortune. It's a little, I mean, it's a 2 or 3 year old ad, so possibly you may not recollect this, but I'm sure that when you look at YouTube, I'll be sharing the link for this ad. And this is absolutely Pratmesh. It's Fortune refined oil. So if you recollect, it's a 4.5 minute ad. I'm not playing this in the presentation, but the situation is such that some youngster is hospitalized and his dadi tries to get some ghar ka khana for him in the hospital, the box of dal. And the nurse essentially says that, no, dadi, you cannot really give him this. He has to get hospital food. So she tries 3 or 4 times. Every day she comes to the hospital, and every day the nurse rudely tells Dadi, why don't you understand, that this is not allowed? And she is so crestfallen and she goes away. Ultimately, she comes with 2 boxes and she says it's his birthday today, and I have bought a box for you as well. Uh, the nurse eats that dal, and the next day, when she comes with the dal, I mean, she looks left and right, she sees nobody's around, and then she lets the dadi say, feed that dal lovingly to the grandson. And in the end, there's a simple tagline: घर का खाना ही होता है. Now, if you want to see the emotional power of this ad, when you look at this ad in YouTube, just read the comments. Almost every second comment says that this brought tears to my eyes. Now, can you really buy that kind of emotional connect? You can talk, if you think about the ads for cooking oils, they talk about how it's good for the heart. It is so nice, and it doesn't harm your health. All that is fine. But what Fortune did, I mean, with Ghar Ka Khana, I mean, they took a home run, right? There is no competition at all. So now this is what storytelling is. It's an emotional journey for the listener which conveys a message. Or I think there are a few people from Blue Dart on this call. I mean, if you recollect the story of your founder, I mean, I do not recollect the name of the gentleman, but he was actually personally going and delivering parcels while there were riots happening in the city, right? And these are the kind of stories that become legend, and therefore it differentiates over a period of time. That Blue Dart is different. I mean, there is absolutely nowhere that other people can match, because you can fight logic, you can't fight emotions. So storytelling is the emotional journey for the listener which conveys a message. And that's where the buyer persona is extremely crucial to understand that what are the pains, desires, challenges, and aspirations of the target audience. And if you look at any story, Sholay or any of the large stories which have endured for 30, 40 years, there's a very small basic narrative that there's a hero. In this case, the hero is a Dadi. So she has a problem that her grandson is essentially admitted in the hospital and he doesn't have good food. There's a villain. So with apologies to the nurse, so she's the villain. She's not letting the Dadi feed food to her sick grandchild. Now there's a temptation to retain status quo. That after 4 or 5 times when the nurse is shouting at the Dadi, I mean, she is looking almost on the verge of giving up. Now there's one more element here called meets a mentor who challenges him to action and shows the way. So this is not relevant in this example, but this is where there's somebody, and this is where you can actually position a brand. That your brand is not the hero. Your brand is a mentor who enables the client to actually take some kind of action. And with that, when there's things are at the darkest, the hero overcomes adversity and attains success. So this is where, I mean, if you can do this, and it need not be a fancy TV ad, it could be simple blog post, it could be simple messaging. That's where you will create a huge impact on influencers, and they in turn will create huge impact, on the end customers. So coming back to the sugar example, they used acid attack victims, and they said that we are empowering them with makeup. So I mean, this is something that I don't think has been attempted before, right? People have a perception of beauty, that beauty is supposed to look beautiful, but the times are changing, and you have to be inclusive. And when you start doing something like this, people will sit up and notice, and that's where they've actually grown to 100 crores in just 3 or 4 years of existence in such a cutthroat industry. Finally, definitely a business website is extremely crucial, because digital marketing has assumed a lot of importance, and I'll come to why. But a business website is not what we think of as a business website. A traditional business website used to be, it used to be like almost like a brochure, that you will take a brochure of a company and you will translate it into a website wherein you're talking about a spec sheet. There's a contact information, there's a company history. Now there's something called a high performance website, which helps in your brand building process, and of course for lead generation and for sales. But we have to actually start thinking of a website as an elevator pitch. So elevator pitch is a simple concept. I mean, who all have heard of this concept of elevator pitch, please? Otherwise, if please give me a yes or no in chat, please. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Rajat. Anybody else heard of the concept of elevator pitch? All right, I don't see a lot of yeses, so I'll spend a little bit of time talking about this. So imagine you are the business owner, you are in an elevator and you come across a big fancy investor. You by chance Ratan Tata happens to be in the lift with you, right? And you have 30 seconds. So what will you say in those 30 seconds to convince Ratan Tata to invest in your business or to buy your product and service? That is an elevator pitch. And if you don't have an elevator pitch ready, you should craft this kind of message. Time yourself. Can you explain this, your business and your investment proposal in 30 seconds? That's the pitch. Then you have to demonstrate credibility. You have to provide only the kind of information about products to entice them, your customers, to actually get in touch with you, right? You have to provide multiple touch points for visitors to take action. You have bold and attention grabbing visuals, and it has to be scannable with comparatively lesser text. So I will actually give an example of this. Guys, are you able to see my screen? Hang on. Let me share my. Yeah, is my browser window viewable?
Yes, you just started a video, have you?
No, I've actually started this Anil Associates website.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a slideshow. Absolutely.
Can see.
So, guys, this is a website we just launched for a client a couple of days back, in fact. So here, what I want to focus upon is that if you look at this, so this is the home page, right? And if you talk about this home page, what you see is a big bold visual. So there is absolutely nothing that we talk about in a caption sense here. We are showing a shipping container ship, and we're showing a factory with yarns being produced in it. And that essentially does all the talking for us. This is the elevator pitch of the business. And here we are saying what clients say. So we've got Sri Neeraj Jain, who's the joint MD of Vardhaman Textile. It's a $3 billion conglomerate. And he is actually being kind enough to talk about our client in such a manner. This is it, right? I mean, if you have this, you don't have to do some fancy selling in the client's own world. This is credibility. Or Sri Hari Balakrishna ji, or you've got Sri Rajiv Jain. They're also very, these are prominent companies, right? And when they talk about your business, you're done. Here's a little bit of a snapshot of the product. And what I want to focus upon is that in every page of the website, we've actually created a quick inquiry form. So the flow here is that we are showing the product visually, we are convincing the person, and we are giving them a very quick way in which to actually float an inquiry. And this is a summarization of what this company does. Then we are not writing a lot of text about what their company profile is or what they do. Just one simple liner. We are Anil Associates, a marketing and sourcing company with more than 60 years of experience in the textile industry. That's the pitch, right? Nothing else to be explained beyond that. And we create very short blurbs, right? We talk about the father of the promoter, and we talk about how they overcome various things and how they started a career, and how they're now how they built the business, and now how they're growing it, and now how they're moving towards sustainability. So people don't like to read text. They like to see visually on what is essentially the company all about. If you look at a product page of this company, we don't show the product. We show the application of the product. The entire screen is covered with the product in a visual form. And we give a little bit of text, a little bit of specifications. And on every page, we give a quick inquiry form so that, you get impressed with this visual, you scan through the text. These are all scannable text, right? Denier, luster, specialized users. And you fill inquiry. And that's it. Nothing else needed. So if you notice here, there's a contact us in blue. So again, we are motivating and convincing the person that please come and take action. Or there's a chat button. Please come, hop on chat and give us your details so we can serve you. Just let me quickly get back to my presentation. So if you now tie in whatever I said earlier, that it serves as an elevator pitch, yes. It demonstrates credibility, definitely. Enough details about the products and no more, absolutely. Multiple touch points, of course, chat, contact us, form on the bottom of every page. Show human face of the business, definitely. Bold and attention grabbing visuals, for sure. Scannable with comparatively lesser text, absolutely. So this is how your website has to be structured. You can just, and this is I think a very key slide, that even if you're making the website yourself, you have to think in this terms and then you have to essentially make it. Lastly, digital marketing, why it's important. I mean, I don't need to really preach. This group is extremely aware. This group is from such a forum that they already know the importance of digital marketing. But some key points are that it is a lot cheaper than traditional media. And if you look at traditional media also, how was measurement done? I mean, if you do a TV ad, then you can only look at, what are the sales impact uplift you have, but it's very difficult to measure on a one-to-one basis. So, advertisers would try and do some kind of coupons or, in the past. Now today, even traditional media is adapting and they are coming up with micro targeting, that Gujarat has a different ad and Rajasthan has a different ad, language driven. But digital marketing is absolutely possible to target at a city level as well, or even at a region within the city or area level. Vastrapur, Bodakdev. It provides quantifiable result. If I'm spending 1 rupee on digital marketing, I can exactly know what that 1 rupee got me. And it is more agile and scalable. You can spend 10,000 rupee today. You are getting great results. Fine. Scale it up to 1 lakh. Scale it up to 10 lakh. Scale back for 1 lakh over the weekend when you don't get sales. That's possible here. And some key levers obviously are search engine optimization, PPC ads, social media, content marketing, email marketing, video ads. Now, what are the type of campaigns you can do? You can do awareness and reach campaigns. This is very crucial for the brand building in the brand development phase. You can do nurture campaigns. So you already have certain customers. You can actually nurture them over a period of time, send them some kind of useful content. You can do community building. So for example, Pampers or, any of these kind of brands, they create a community of moms. So when there's an active community, your brand automatically comes in the limelight. You create credibility, trust, and social proof. And of course, you can do lead generation and online sale. That is well understood. So I'm not spending time on this. Now, what Sir Richard Branson says is a good idea for a new business tends not to occur in isolation, and the window of opportunity is extremely small. So speed is of essence. And I'd like to also add here that there's a very famous quote that in today's day and age, the big will not beat the small. The fast will beat the slow. So to everybody who's attending this, if you already have an idea for a business, please do not sit on it. Please do not let it fester. Just take some kind of action. And definitely, even if you make mistakes, you can overcome those mistakes with more action. But if you don't take mistakes, I mean, that's the fatal flaw. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. I'm at the 40-minute mark. And definitely, Piali, if you have any comments, and then we can open for questions.
I think let's wait for some questions that are coming from the participants, and then maybe I'll request you to sort of summarize it once for us on these 5 steps towards it. I think there are some questions. These are probably.
So guys, please don't feel shy. I mean, please, now you can bring up the questions, and now we can talk about LinkedIn, and now we can talk about Facebook. I mean, that was not a part of my presentation. I'm not here to promote my company. So that's why I've deliberately not talked about it, but we can now address specific concerns around digital marketing or brand building or development.
Amitji, there is one question from Marut.
Yes.
Yeah, if I can read.
Please.
Yeah, sir, which platform, content, LinkedIn, FB, etc., we should use to market our product in the beginning, please?
Marut, to give meaningful answer to your question, could you please share what industry are you in or planning to be in? You can just directly write in chat. Marut, hi. Okay, while Marut gets back on his industry, let me answer this question in a more generic manner. So,
Amit, I see he has mentioned dairy.
oh, brilliant. Okay. So, Marut, basically, there are 2 or 3 main levers that you can pull. One is Facebook, one is LinkedIn, as you mentioned, and one is Google Ads, right? So these are the 3 big things that you make essentially. Now, let me eliminate LinkedIn first. LinkedIn is important for B2B high ticket sale in our experience. I mean, others can share differently, but from what we've seen of clients, if you are selling to a high ticket item, that's where you should leverage LinkedIn. So now I'd like to focus more on Google and Facebook. So Facebook essentially is like going to a party. I mean, imagine if you go to a party, you meet somebody, and that guy pulls out a brochure and he says, you know what? Hey, come to the corner. I want to share my brochure and you please read it. And you'll feel pissed off, right? You'll say, please go away, right? And if you're at a business convention, somebody is talking about party, he's putting his feet up and, he's talking about what fun he had, you will feel irritated as well. So now if you look at these 2 scenarios, you will be able to yourself determine on what is good for you. So if I were you, and if I was starting, let's say, a new milk brand, let's say organic milk brand, and some people have done it. A milk subscription is a very large thing today. So I think Facebook would work well because Facebook is a medium wherein people are talking about their lives and in a very subtle manner. But the way to do it on Facebook is that you cannot directly sell your product on Facebook. You have to add value. So this is something called funnel marketing that, talk about the benefits of organic milk or the, subscription benefits. Make a guide, make some kind of blog post, make a small video, then give it away for free. Just capture the email address of the person. And then once you have that, then you can do email marketing or you can give more Facebook ads on your product once you've given value. So always on Facebook marketing, you have to first deliver value and then you have to ask. I mean, if you're going on a date, on another first date, you ask somebody to marry you, I mean, that person will slap you, right? So, I mean, first you have to actually demonstrate your values and your suitability as a candidate. And then only you can talk about all this. So the same applies for Facebook marketing. So please add value and then you have to actually go forward. Google, if you want to advertise, my personal take is that if the industry is mature and there's already a demand, that's when you should actually do Google AdWords, and that's where you should actually do. But for your use case, if you're talking about milk subscription, for an example, I would personally choose Facebook. So does that help, Marut? I hope. And if you have any follow-on questions, please let me know. And I think I can see some more questions here. Can you, so Khushbu,
Yeah.
Can you explain what should you look for in VP of marketing for an early stage startup and how are B2B and B2C different? Oh, that's a fantastic question. So, I mean, personally, if I were hiring a VP of marketing early stage startup, I would look for an execution oriented guy and I would look for somebody who is a multifaceted person, very, very comfortable digitally. If you look at Sugar, the entire brand was built digital first, right? Sugar has no TV ads as far as I know. So, the traditional context of media buying and, understanding TV and understanding radio and print is out. What you really need to do is that person, and I'll give you a very good acid test when you're hiring this. Ask the person point blank, do you know how to code? If the person is agile and if the person is into digital marketing, he should know a little bit of at least coding concept, if not actual coding. So if he passes that acid test, I would hire him or her. And how are B2B and B2C different? B2B, I mean, the biggest difference in my mind is the cycle length of the sales, sales process. So if you're looking at B2B and especially for high ticket B2B, the cycle would be 20 days, 30 days, 6 months, and you are essentially adding value to somebody over a long period of time. In B2C, at times it's instant. I mean, you come across a milk subscription service, as Marut said on Facebook, there's a free offer, you try it, you like it, and you might pay for it. So I think that's the biggest difference. And Khushbu, I hope this answers the question, but feel free for follow-up questions. It's a very good question. Thank you. Piali, how different is brand building exercise when someone has a manufacturing or industrial process or product or service? I mean, that really is an amazing question. And that is a challenging question. Because when you think of manufacturing or industrial products, you would say, boss, this is not brand building driven. This is not emotional driven. This is spec based selling, right? That I have a certain specification, my competitors have a certain specification, there's the RFP, RFQ, and you fulfill the criteria and you buy. I absolutely and 100% disagree with this kind of assessment. Please remember, you may be selling a 10 crore industrial item, but the person who's doing the selling is a person, and the person who's buying your product or service is also a person. So brand building definitely has to focus on the persona of this individual, that when he is doing his job, what are the sources of benefit? How does he get information about a product? If you're selling a widget, how does he get information? Is there any industry periodical? Are there any websites? So once you are clear with this, you will know how to influence him or her. Secondly, you need to understand their insecurities, that while they're doing this buying, many people in industrial buying context are scared that if they make a wrong buying decision, their job will be a threat or they will look very bad in their peers, right? You buy, let's say in a factory, you have to buy a HVAC plant versus 20 crores. Now you are scared, right? But if I make a decision and tomorrow that plant is offline most of the time, people will point fingers at me. So in this context, you have to understand what is his biggest insecurity and what is a competitor not fulfilling, right? And that is, if you understand this, you can sell him or her anything. And that is where specs are important. But I mean, this will become key, because remember, people buy on emotions and justify on logic. It's a cliche, but it is absolutely true. You can buy a helicopter for all you care, but ultimately somewhere you're pandering to your emotions first, and then you're talking about the specifications. So I think that is the biggest difference in my mind. And the second big difference is you have to add value first and then expect. So you add value, you educate, you do a webinar, you try and address their queries, you try and do employee training. And once you're done with that, you subtly introduce your product and you let the person connect the dots. So thanks, Piali, for this amazing question. I mean, I'm sure this is in the mind of other people as well, and this was helpful for me as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Amit. There is a question from Malhar, which I'm sure is your favorite question. If we will do startup, what is the basic and minimum cost spends in digital marketing? So basically, he is asking about the minimum cost one needs to spend in digital marketing in the initial stages of the startup.
Sarthak, right? Sarthak.
Malhar.
Malhar. Sorry, Malhar. Malhar, let me give you a nice answer, which I'm 100% sure you like. Would you like zero? So, or near zero? All right. So now let me come to my backup deck. So here's zero for you. All you need is elbow grease, my friend. I have summarized everything for you here, and all of them give free trials, most of them. And I do not have a slide. I mean, I did a presentation last year on digital marketing. I'll ask Piali to share that as well with you. Piali, would you be possible? I'll give you the link.
It's a great YouTube. Yes, I'll definitely share it with Remy, and she can do that with everyone.
So, boss, I'm a Madu entrepreneur, right? And Marwadi is very well known that we are known for sucking the last rupee out of a situation when we are doing some marketing. So, I had a slide in that presentation wherein you get 10,000 rupee of free credits. So please use that. The thing about if you want to call yourself a startup, then you have to come up with Jugaad solutions. Read a book called Jugaad Marketing. If you are starting with 1 or 2 crores and then you are doing something, you're not a startup boss. You are indulging a hobby. A startup founder is a person who jumps from a cliff and he builds a plane on the way down and he flies off. So my answer to you is zero. And wear it as a badge of honor that I started my company with zero and I marketed with zero. And these links will help you. So certainly, I mean, please go through it and I'll share this deck. So does that answer your question somewhat? And of course, when you get funded, then you please come to me. So we'll give you some nice fancy invoices at that point of time.
So So one thing, Amit, just back to when you were talking about the brand building through the digital visibility through digital media. Someone in TiE that I know, she does some designer products. So like everybody else, she also started, kind of trying to build her brand and marketing through Facebook and Instagram and all that. And what she finally noticed is, because she has this limited editions and unique, each and every design is unique. She found the moment she was putting the designs on the digital media, somebody else would copy. And then she got to know from so many of her clients, they said, your design is supposed to be unique, but I've already seen this design with many other people. So that became kind of a learning for her, and she realized that in her case, if she has to use the digital media, then the brand building is not by building the brand of her products, but it is actually building the brand of herself. People are buying that design and product based on who she is and what she is, and her efforts for over the years, and she's a big name over the years, is building the brand of herself there. So this is sort of another kind of a situation and story I had come across some time back.
No, it's a fabulous example, and it's a fabulous learning that people can copy your products, people can copy your design, people can copy your website, they can copy your messaging. They will not be able to copy your personality. And the beauty of building there's a saying that, if others are copying you, you make your fire so big and strong that they will leave their fire and they'll come to your fire for warmth. So, the goal is not to try and extinguish somebody's copied fire. The goal is to make the fire so big that, you are unstoppable. And I think personal branding is the biggest component of this. And especially for this kind of product, what you just mentioned. Piali, would you be able to share what was the sub niche within designer products?
These are jewelry watches that she has in gold and diamond and all that.
Fantastic. So, if you are personality driven, people will be scared to copy you, because, your customers will go and lynch the other person. This is a kind of cult following. For example, when somebody copies Apple's phones, some Chinese company, people go left, right, and center. Other brands copy their products, and the customers are so loyal that they will go and lynch the other brand. That, you are copiers, right? So that's the goal, and that can be done. And Sugar Cosmetics, as I gave an example, the way they've positioned themselves, people will not be able to copy them very easily. And thank you for such an interesting and a nice example, Piali.
Amit, there is a last question, I guess, from Marut. Yes. The major challenge faced by AfterFirst still now, if you can share.
Brilliant. I was actually apprehensive of doing this because it came across as self-promotion, but now that you've asked this, let me just quickly share this.
Yeah.
So I'll come to this slide. So in India, there are 5,000 digital marketing agencies of reasonable capability. How would you start? And we started this agency a few years back. So, what is the relevance, and how do you differentiate, and how do you have buyer personas, whatever I talked about earlier, and the brand building and the storytelling? Well, I have a simple pitch that I am from Ahmedabad. I left a job which probably would get me a crore and a half today. And I believe in this company and I'm here. Secondly, I have e-commerce portals, wherein I'm actually doing millions of dollars of sale online. It's verifiable. I can actually show it to any potential client. So when I'm doing this, I am one of the only agencies where the founder is actually doing a business. He's actually generating returns and paying salaries from it. So if we are able to do it for ourselves, we can definitely do it for you. So once you take this kind of positioning, it's a blue ocean for me. I don't think there are very few agencies like this worldwide, actually, wherein the founder can say that we are actually also running a business. There are a few that I know of, but very few. So that is where we are actually positioning ourselves that, look, we know how to deliver results and we are doing it for ourselves. And again, I am Ahmedabad. The story is that, hey, I was in a very comfortable job. I could have a nice lifestyle. My wife would not have to struggle. She'll have a lot of money. But I left all that. And now I'm here and I'm struggling and I'm building my company up brick by brick. And this is the idea. So this is the exact storytelling that I was preaching earlier. And it has worked very well for us. We work with elite clients and they respect us for it. And we are able to actually show the results. So that is where people respect us for what we bring to the table. And that is how my marketing message, I'm not able to share my buyer persona. This presentation is actually public. So otherwise I would love to show you. And coming back to that, I forgot to share one thing. In this resource slide, there are 2 links: HubSpot, Make My Persona, and Digital Marketing Customer Avatar. Definitely, please go through it, and it'll give you examples of the persona that we talked about. They're tools, and they'll help you create this online. They are the 2 best ones that I know of. And the journey, you can also Google something called Hero's Journey. So it's actually a 13-step process. I simplified it according to my understanding. But these are the 2 things you should definitely look up today. And definitely check out the Dadi ad. Ghar ka khana Dadi you put in, and I'll share the links. Piali can perhaps pass all these assets to you.
Sure, I'll do that. Definitely.
So thanks, guys. I hope this was a little interactive. Hope it's been resonating. And definitely, I want to come back to what Malhar said. Please do Jugaad marketing. Please explore. And definitely, if you're able to do near zero marketing, I'll be the happiest person. I would like to talk to you only when you get funded. Although I'm here to help. It is not that I don't want to help, but I'm not here to try and help you when you are struggling in the initial stage. I would like to help you with my time, but not in terms of taking your money.
Amit, if you would like to probably just in 30 seconds, the last question, or it might be probably a repeat that you've just said. What's your USP for digital marketing?
Our USP is that, okay, so it's a very controversial statement, but let's say if you talk about PPC ad, should I say this or should I not say this? Okay, what the hell? So I mean, PPC, I mean, many agencies, I will not say all, but their objective is to spend more. And their pricing model is that whatever you spend, a percentage of that is what they earn. And therefore, pay-per-click advertising, if you want expert help, I mean, you have to spend 2-3 lakh rupees a month and you get into that bucket, right? And it's a very large sum of money for somebody starting out. We have an absolutely opposite kind of approach that we will say, boss, spend 10,000 rupees. We wanted to spend less. We will reduce, we will sit, we will actually break our heads, we will take headache, and we will actually reduce your wasteful expense. So this is a USP that we come to you, we sit in your chair, we look at your problems, we understand your business, and then we act. We think like you think. And if we feel that we are not able to add value to you, we are the first person to say no, that we are not the right people for you. You do it on your own. And I'm going to launch some very low ticket educational content on my site as well. It's afterfirst.com. So and possibly free, or the problem with free is that if you give something away free, people don't value it. So maybe 100, 200, 500 rupees, something like that. You come and actually learn the content and you actually implement on your own. So that's the idea actually. And you can have a look at the site afterfirst.com. We'll be scaling it up with good content, which applies to business owners. So that's the USP. And I hope, Piali, I'm clear with that, or is it an evasive answer?
That was the question. Yes, thank you. I just sort of read the last question. I thought we can fit it in. Right. Back to you, Remy. Amit, would you like to stop the screen share? And would you be happy for this presentation to be shared with everyone?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Remy can do that. I'll take it from you and probably Remy can then share it with everyone.
I'll share the deck separately, and there are a few links I will separately share it.
We can't hear you, I think. Is that just me?
No, I'm not on mute.
Yeah.
Oh, Remy. Yeah. Yes.
Some problem with my speaker today. Maulik ji, if you could just take the screenshot of the screen. Jay, you could also turn on your video,
yes,
please.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, the session was so interesting. Questions were just flowing, and continuously we have this WhatsApp group of all the students registered in the program, and it's been bombarded with all the questions. And I'm saying them, you ask the question during the chat box itself. Why are you asking me?
No, I think, Remy, I'll just like to say one thing, that digital marketing, when used in the right manner, is a game changer.
Yes.
A very small, efficient startup can actually beat MNCs, right? And if you look at sugar, they are actually competing with the HUS of the world now.
Yes.
In 3 or 4 short years. And you look at their profile, they're a digital first brand. And it's my sincere hope, expectation, and wish that at least 5 or 10 people from this group will start their businesses. They will start something today. Please start today. Take one small step, and use your knowledge to actually make an impact.
Thank you, Amit ji. Thank you so much, and thank you, Piali ji, for looping in Amit ji in today's workshop.
My privilege entirely. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Seriously, it has actually given us, as well as all the students, all the audience who have joined us. We mostly have a student majority who have actually joined us, UG student majority, in fact. And this is definitely a very new perspective on digital marketing, on branding, on marketing as such for startups. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So shall we conclude the, Piali, would you like to say anything, or shall we end the presentation?
Fine. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to TiE as well. We have associated with Ganpat University in the past as well, and I'm looking forward to probably many more, probably programs together, especially now that they are going to have entrepreneurship as, one of their key programs in the master's degree.
Thank you so much to all these students who have joined us. I would like to say tomorrow, yet again, we are having a very interesting session on work from home environment. And there is a very renowned speaker who are actually joining us. I will be sharing his profile with you in the group as well. We are looking forward to see you all tomorrow at 4 p.m. Bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.